Well, welcome everyone to Week 5 of the 1970 NFL season. Uh, just wanted to clarify one thing. Is obviously we're seeing some tie games, and I think we all are so used to having overtime and that with football games, but the NFL in 1970 had no overtime rules, and they had overtime rules for the playoffs that were sudden death. But for regular season games, they did not have overtime until 1974. So just something that I was noticing the amount of ties, and wasn't rolling into overtime like I thought. So did some research and found out that for regular season games, is if they were tied at the end of regulation, it was a tie. There was no overtime, and that was the case for regular season games till 1974. So just a little bit of clarification there on the rules. So before we get started, let's look at the league leaders. So looking at passing from a yardage perspective, Billy Kilmer is tops in yardage. Touchdowns, you have a four-way tie between Roman Gabriel of the Rams, Gerald LaMonica of the Raiders, Bob Greasy of the Dolphins, and Jim Hart of the Cardinals. Len Dawson leads with interceptions. Billy Kilmer and Dennis Shaw each are in second with 7 interceptions. Longest pass goes to Pete Liskey of the Denver Broncos, an 84-yard touchdown. Norm Snead of the Eagles has been sacked 13 times. Hadel of San Diego, 11. And Dennis Shaw of the Bills, 10, along with Bill Munson of the Lions. QB rating, John Unitas leads in QB rating for the season so far, followed by Daryl LaMonica, Jim Hart, Fran Tarkington, and Joe Namath. Looking at rushing numbers, Ed Podolak of the Kansas City Chiefs, 437 yards. He's the leader right now going into week 5. Larry Brown of the Washington Redskins at 419 in second place. Ron Johnson of the Giants, 381 in third. Larry Brown leads in rushing touchdowns with 6. Believe it or not, Billy Kilmer leads for the longest rush of the season, 46 yards. Receiving, Gene Washington of the Minnesota Vikings leading the NFL in receiving, 393 yards. Kenny Burrow of the New Orleans Saints, he's averaging a little over 28 yards a reception. We have Eddie Hinton of the Colts, Jack Snow of the Rams, Wendell Tucker of the Rams, and Carl Noonan of the Miami Dolphins, each with 4 touchdowns to lead the league going into week 5. Longest reception was by Floyd Little, an 84-yard touchdown. On defense, your tackle leader is going to be Dick Butkus with 48 tackles so far this season, followed by Leroy Jordan of the Cowboys, 43 tackles, and Tommy Novus of the Atlanta Falcons with 42. Alex Karras, Merlin Olsen, and Gary Pettigrew, and Bubba Smith each lead with 10 tackles for loss. Your sack leader, Fred Dreyer of the Giants, followed by Carl Eller of the Vikings, and Ron Carpenter of the Bengals. Your interception leaders on defense, three-way tie with 4 interceptions so far. Al Levan of the Falcons, Clarence Scott of the Patriots, Gus Holloman of the Jets. Defensive TDs, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players with touchdowns. Edgar Chandler, Pat Fisher, Jamie Rivers, Walt Sumner, and Nate Wright. Kick returners. Homer Jones, leading with 333 yards of kickoff returns, 2 of which he has run back for touchdowns. Punt returners. Bruce Taylor of the 49ers with 120 yards of punt returns and a touchdown. Ed Podolak is the only other player so far this season who has gotten a touchdown off of a punt return. So let's go look at our Week 5 schedule. So the games on the schedule for Week 5, the Giants at Harvard Stadium in Boston, the Dolphins at the Rock Pile in Buffalo, San Diego travels to Wrigley Field to play the Bears, the Chiefs visiting Cincinnati, and looks like the forecast is for more rain in Cincinnati. Detroit will be in Municipal Stadium playing Cleveland. Looks like there's going to be some lake effect snow in that game, so our first snow game of the season. Atlanta will be traveling to Mile High to play Denver, and Denver has been shut out the last 2 weeks. See if Denver can generate some offense. The Rams travel to Green Bay to play the Packers, and it looks like it's going to be a rainy day in Green Bay. Pittsburgh headed to the Astrodome to take on the Astros. That's a NFC or a AFC Central matchup. Later on in the 70s, when you get to the Love Ya Blue Bum Phillips Oilers, the Pittsburgh Houston games during that era with Earl Campbell, Dante Pastorini, Kenny Burrow, and Earl Campbell against the Steelers dynasty at that time. Those were really good games. So we're not quite there yet. Pittsburgh's still up and coming, and Houston, they're playing a little bit above their heads historically here in this season replay, but yeah, they're not a quality team like they will be later on in the 70s. Dallas travels to Metropolitan Stadium, and it's going to be a bit of a chilly day there at 46 degrees. The Jets will be hosting Baltimore and Shea. This is a matchup of Super Bowl III, the Joe Namath guaranteed win in the Super Bowl, and the first Super Bowl win by a AFL team. So that'll be an interesting game. Washington will be traveling to Oakland. A little bit of a rainy day there in Oakland. And the Battle of the Birds. The Cardinals heading to Franklin Field to take on the Eagles. And then an NFC West matchup. New Orleans at San Francisco. So one thing I'm going to do here, just kind of show you another feature of Pro Strategy Football 2023 is you see here, I generally will just simulate the games when we look at the highlights, but as you can see, I've got some options here. If I, want to sim the game, if I want to coach the game, and I'll select which side I want to coach, or I could just simply watch it like a regular televised game. So from start to finish, watch the entire game. We'll click on preview here just to kind of give you an idea of what this feature does. So we're looking at the mid-October game between the Giants and the Patriots at Harvard Stadium. Gives you the weather condition. Gives you some information. New York is basically, they won their last game, and Boston's on a 4-game losing streak. So they haven't won a game yet this season. To view the over-under and the point spread, it says run analyze game, and then they give you some ratings here for the team. So the overall team rating for just the entire team, offensive overall rating for New York and Boston, defense ratings, and then special teams. So let's go down here and hit analyze game to see what the over, under, and the spread is. Okay, well, point spread. They're saying New York should win this by 15. The over-under is 39. So that's kind of a neat little feature. Okay, that'll be a chilly day there with some gusty winds in Harvard Stadium, but at least it's not raining. So I'm going to sim the games now. And as usual, we will go through and we'll watch the highlights together and find out what the final score is. Again, remember, 1970, regular season, there are no overtime periods, or no overtime. So whatever the score is at the end of regulation, that is the score. So it'll be win, loss, or tie. So let's go to the highlights. Giants at the Patriots. 8:06 left in the first, and Gino Cappelletti, 20-yard attempt is good, getting Boston on the board first. Tarkington with 3:51 in the first, driving downfield, hits Clifton McNeil, touchdown Giants. 15-yard connection, Tarkington to McNeil. 11:37 in the second now. And Tarkington hands off to Ron Johnson. He gets the first down on a 4th and 2, setting up what may be a Giant score. Let's find out. Yep. And Fran Tarkington just scrambles it in for 3 yards. Extra point is good. New York 14, Boston 3. Talafiero is starting. And he turns it over with an interception to Spider Lockhart. And Lockhart almost gets in for the touchdown, takes it to the Boston 6 with 10 minutes in the second quarter. Tarkington under center. He's back to pass. He's looking. He finds Bob Tucker in the end zone, in the back of the end zone. Touchdown Giants. Extra point is missed. Looks like Gino Cappelletti again trying to increase the Boston score, and it's wide right. 45 seconds left in the second quarter. Pete Gogolak of the Giants lines up a field goal. That looks good. 28-yard attempt by Gogolak is good. Your score is 23-3 with 8:23 in the third quarter. Tarkington sneaks up the middle for a 1-yard gain at 4th and 1. Drive stalls out, and Gogolak comes in for a chip shot. 3 more points to the ledger for the Giants. 26-3, 15 seconds left in the third. Cappelletti is wide left. Heading into the fourth, 10-22 in the fourth, 26-3 New York. Talafiero back to pass for the Patriots, and he's picked off. Oh. 5:46 left in the fourth. Tarkington driving the Giants down. Hands off to Tucker Fredrickson, and the fullback rumbles into the end zone. 9-yard touchdown run by Tucker Frederickson of the Giants. Your score is 32-3 with 5 minutes left. And Talafiero is picked off again, this time by Ken Parker. 24 seconds left. Tarkington hands the ball off to Ron Johnson. He's in the end zone with seconds remaining in the game. 39-3 is your score. Talafiero back to pass. He hits Frazier and he gets out of bounds, but time has expired. Boy, the Giants really thrashed the Patriots. 39-3. Fran Tarkington, your MVP of the game. And as you expect, domination by the Giants in the final game stats. Let's look at the Giants' individual numbers. Fran Tarkington, 19 of 26, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Was sacked twice. Ron Johnson attempted a halfback pass. The rushing numbers. Ron Johnson, big day, 127 yards on 20 carries and a touchdown. His longest run was 30 yards. Tucker Frederickson got into the act with a touchdown on the ground, as did Fran Tarkington with that quarterback sneak. Receiving. Clifton McNeil, 84 yards on 6 catches. The tight end Bob Tucker, 44 yards on 4 catches. Both of those players got touchdowns. Total offense numbers for the New York Football Giants. On defense, John Douglas, 12 tackles. He had 1 for loss, and he did pick off Talafiero. Spider Lockhart had the other interception. Fred Dreyer, big game for Fred Dreyer. 3 tackles, all of them were sacks. Bob Lertzma, same thing, 2 tackles, all of them were sacks. Jerry Shea got a sack. Douglas, Lockhart, and Parker with interceptions. Gogolak missed 2 extra points. Bill Johnson, 32-yard average. On kick returns, we only had 1 here for Les Shy for 29 yards. Bobby Duhan, 2 fair catches, but had 1 4-yard return. Now let's look at the Boston numbers. Talafiero, brutal line for a quarterback. 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. Sacked 6 times for 43 yards. I think we're going to see Joe Kapp back as the quarterback for the Patriots after that performance. Rushing leaders for the Patriots. Nance with 39 yards. He also fumbled, but he recovered his own fumble. Receiving. Big Turner with 87 yards. Ron Seller with 47. Total offense numbers. Not much to look at when you can only score 3 points. Defense. Clarence Scott, 13 tackles. Chayuski, he had 10 tackles, 2 for loss. Philpott, Antwine each had sacks. Gino Cappelletti, his day. Well, he only made 1 of the 3 field goals he attempted. That was the lone score for the Patriots in Week 5. Janik had a good day punting. Longest was 44 yards. He parked 3 of those inside the 20. And your kick return numbers. Odell Lawson, Big day for him. 4 returns, 111 yards. He averaged just about 28 yards per return. Punt returners, Garrett, 8 yards, 1 fair catch. All right, that wraps up the Giants-Patriots game. Now we're off to War Memorial Stadium, otherwise known as the Rock Pile, where the Miami Dolphins, the 3-1 Miami Dolphins, will take on the 1-3 Buffalo Bills. 6:11 in the first. Buffalo driving. Hands off to OJ. OJ gets the first down, converting the 4th and 2. Shaw under center for the Bills. Hands off to Simpson again, and OJ takes it in for the touchdown. 12-yard run for OJ Simpson, putting Buffalo on the board 7-0. With 11:42 in the second, Garo Yepremian hits a field goal for the Dolphins. The score is 7-3 Buffalo. 5:34 in the second quarter. Greasy under center for the Dolphins. He hands off to Larry Zonka. Zonka's hit and fumbles the ball. Buffalo recovers at the 38. 3:29 left. Dennis Shaw hands off to O.J. Simpson. Simpson converts the 4th down with 3:29 in the second quarter. With 1:16 left, Shaw hands off to Simpson again. And O.J. goes for 4 yards. He's tackled at the 1, and they will turn it over on downs. 1:01 left in the second quarter. Greasy back to pass. Butch Bird picks him off and runs it in for the touchdown. Extra point is good. Now we're on to the third quarter. We have a wide left field goal attempt by Grant Guthrie. Score remains 14-3 Buffalo. 4:52 in the third. Greasy back to pass for the Dolphins. He hits Zonka. Zonka rumbles into the end zone. Touchdown, Dolphins. 1:11 left. Shaw hits Marlon Briscoe in the end zone in a short pass. Touchdown, Buffalo. Buffalo is giving a game effort today. Greasy is intercepted. Intercepted by Robert James, and he takes it to the Miami 22. 14 minutes in the fourth quarter. Shaw back to pass. He's looking, he avoids the sack, and he just overthrows Marlon Briscoe. They do not convert on 4th down. Miami has the ball. 6:20 in the fourth. No, it's actually my mistake. That is Buffalo. Wayne Patrick tries a run up the middle and fumbles. 2:39 in the fourth. Greasy back to pass. Butch Bird steps in front of that one and picks it off and runs it back to the Buffalo 31. We have an upset in the making here. Buffalo has the ball with 19 seconds left, and that's going to be your ball game. The first upset of the day, the Buffalo Bills get on track with a 21-10 victory over the Miami Dolphins. Your MVP is going to be Butch Bird. He had a busy day, 4 tackles and 2 interceptions, one of which he ended up with a touchdown. And it was a big day for Buffalo. Miami turned the ball over a total of 4 times. You're not going to win very many games when you turn the ball over that much. Look at Miami's numbers. Bob Greasy was 7 out of 33 for 203 yards, a touchdown. He did throw 3 interceptions. Was sacked once for 8 yards. Miami's numbers on the running game. Zonka with 55. He fumbled the ball to Buffalo. Receiving yards. Big day for Paul Warfield. 82 yards, but no touchdowns. Here's the total offense numbers for the Dolphins today in the game in Buffalo. Defense numbers. Bonicani with 11 tackles. He did recover a fumble. John Richardson, 6 tackles, 3 for loss. Garo Yepremian, good day for Garo, bad day for the Dolphins. Seeple's punting numbers. And looking at kick returns. Miami's punt return numbers, 1 fair catch. All right, let's look at the victorious Buffalo Bills. Dennis Shaw, the rookie quarterback, completed 20 passes out of 32 attempts for 223 yards. Got a touchdown. He didn't turn the ball over. Wasn't sacked. Rushing. O.J. Simpson leading the way with 118 yards on the ground and with 18 carries and a touchdown. Receiving yards. Marlon Briscoe with 76 and a touchdown. Haven Moses, 63. Offense numbers for the Buffalo Bills in their Week 5 win against the Miami Dolphins. Defensive numbers. Guidry leads with 9 tackles. Cowlings had the sack. Butch Bird, big day picking off 2 greasy passes. Edgar Chandler recovered the Zonka fumble. Guthrie's day, he was good on extra points, missed his only field goal attempt. McGuire's punting numbers. And kick returns. Well, 1 12-yard return by Eichel. Nothing on the punt return front, just a single fair catch by Tommy Farr. All right. The Bills upset the Dolphins. Didn't see that coming. Dolphins, on paper, a much better team. But on paper is one thing, playing the game is another. Now we move on. San Diego, heading into Wrigley Field to play the Bears. Looks like a gusty, windy day in Wrigley Field. 11:32 in the second quarter. Hadel under center for the Chargers. He's back to pass. He looks, hits Dickey Post, and he is hit immediately and coughs the ball up. Chicago recovers at the 35. Concannon under center for the Bears. He's back to pass, and they don't convert that 4th down. 7:10 left in the first. Concannon. He's back to pass. He's looking. Oh. And Beaucamp picks the ball off for the Chargers. Brings it to the 50-yard line. 30 seconds left in the first. Hadel. He's looking. He's looking. He finds Dickey Post in the end zone. 9-yard touchdown pass, Hadel to Post. San Diego is on the board, 7-0. 8-11 in the second. Don Shai runs it in for 3 yards for the Bears. Touchdown Bears. And we're tied at 7 with 22 seconds left in the second quarter. Mac Percival. It's good. 14-yard field goal by Mac Percival at the end of the first half. Puts the Bears up 10-7. 11:31 in the third. Hadel back to pass. And he hits Ebner. Touchdown. Rick Ebner. 35-yard touchdown pass from John Hadel. Scores 14-10 San Diego. A little over 2 minutes left in the third. And Hadel hits Gary Garrison, the Ghost. And the Ghost is in the end zone. 24 yards. Touchdown, San Diego. 21-10. Flag on the play on the field goal attempt by Percival.
Wide right.
Ew. And it's wide right, along with a 5-yard penalty on the Bears. 2 minutes left in the game. Eyeshide, I believe. Oh, it's Mike Mercer. Wide left. 12-yard attempt fails. San Diego up 21-10 with 41 seconds left in the fourth. Concannon back to pass. And he is picked off. And I think that is going to seal this game away for the San Diego Chargers. And that is your final. The Chargers come storming into Wrigley Field and take a 21-10 victory. Hadel is your MVP. Let's look at those stats. Chicago got it going on the ground. San Diego not so much, but San Diego had it going in the air. John Hadel's numbers. 20 completions out of 29 attempts. Almost 70% completion rate. 220 yards. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 4 times for 28 yards, but a great line for John Hadel. As we noted, not much in the running game for San Diego against that Bears front four and linebacking core. Receiving. Gary Garrison, 67 yards and a touchdown. Dickie Post, he got a touchdown through the air as well. And then Rick Eber, his sole catch was the 35-yard touchdown. There's the total offense numbers for the Chargers. Really love the Charger uniforms of this era with that powder blue, white helmet, lightning bolt, and the black numbers on the helmets. San Diego with those powder blues. In my humble opinion, one of the coolest looking football uniforms in NFL history. Defense. Babich, Briggs, and Barnes with 7 tackles each. Briggs had 7 tackles, 3 for loss. Owens got a sack. Beaucamp and Brugers with interceptions. Mercer missed his field goal, was automatic on extra points. Dennis Partee, his punting line for the day, had a 61-yard punt. And your kick returners, both Duncan and Fletcher, each had a return for 26 yards and 25 yards respectively. On punt returns, Fletcher averaged 7 yards, longest was 8. Let's look at the Chicago numbers. Concannon did not have a good day. 14 out of 29, 163 yards, no TDs, 2 interceptions, was sacked once for 10 yards, but the options at quarterback for the Bears is literally pick your poison, and not in a good way. Don Shy had the best day on the ground for both teams, 61 yards and a touchdown. Ronnie Bull had 42 yards as well. Receiving, Dick Gordon, the speedy, elusive Dick Gordon, 71 yards on 5 catches. And here's your total offense numbers for the Chicago Bears. On defense, Leroy Caffey, 6 tackles. George Seals, 5 tackles, 3 for loss, 1 of which was a sack. Billy Holman had 2 sacks on the day. Edo Bradovich, he had a sack. Dick Butkus recovered the fumble. Had to imagine it was him in that fray. I believe it was Dickie Post that coughed the ball up and was hit immediately when the ball hit his hands, and probably a very vicious hit by Dick Butkus to dislodge that ball. Mac Percival's line for today. Bobby Joe Green's punting numbers. He had 6 punts, 5 of them inside the 20. In kick returns, Smith and Turner for the Bears. Punt return numbers for Smith and Cole. Okay. And this is a wrap. Chargers 21, Bears 10. Our next game, Chiefs heading into a Riverfront in the pouring rain against the Cincinnati Bengals. And they're playing on artificial turf, so it won't be a sloggy, muddy, swampy game, but it'll probably be pretty slippery. See if these teams can keep their footing and hold on to the ball. 57 seconds left in the first quarter. Virgil Carter hits Speedy Thomas, and he's off to the races for a touchdown. Speedy Thomas, 20 yards from Virgil Carter, gets Cincinnati on the board. 13:30 in the second quarter. Virgil Carter back to pass. He hits Marsalis. Wrong uniform. Marsalis with the interception. No change in the score. 8:25 in the second. Marsalis intercepts Virgil Carter again, this time on the Cincinnati 30. Let's see if they can turn this into points. 6:20 in the second. Dawson back to pass. He's looking. Incomplete. Good job defending by Bill Berge. 4:47 in the second. Carter under center for the Bengals. He hands off to Jess Phillips. Willie Lanier picks up the fumble and runs it in. Way to go, Willie Lanier. 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Horst Molman is wide right on that attempt in the rain. Eight seconds left in the second quarter. Molman again. And he punches that chip shot through. Bengals go up 10-7 at the end of the first half. 11:51 in the fourth. Podolak gets the pitch, gets the first down, and then fumbles the ball away at midfield. 5:35 left in the fourth. Len Dawson back to pass for the Chiefs. He's looking. Incomplete. They do not convert that 4th and long. Hank Stram taking a risk there. It doesn't pay off. 1:55 left in the fourth. Dawson looking. He's got Otis Taylor. First down, Chiefs. 1:05 left in the fourth. Chiefs are still driving. Lenny tosses to Podolak. Podolak goes along the sideline, is tackled and fumbles the ball. I think the weather is affecting people's chance to hold on to the ball. Cincinnati gets the ball back on their 18, and they're going to salt the game away. Virgil Carter taking a knee. Cincinnati Bengals 10, Chiefs 7. Not much scoring. It was a rainy day, but at the end of it all, the Bengals outplayed the Chiefs. If it wasn't for middle linebacker Willie Lanier picking up that fumble and running it in, this would have been a shutout for the Bengals. Speedy Thomas is the MVP. He had a good day, 6 catches, 108 yards, and a touchdown in the rain. Yep. Kansas City couldn't get anything going on offense. Cincinnati dominated. Even though the score was tight, a lot of purple on that column for Cincinnati. Looking at the Chief individual player numbers, Len Dawson, 19 completions out of 43 attempts, only 185 yards for all that. No touchdowns or interceptions, and he was sacked twice. And rushing, Podolak, 79 yards. He fumbled twice, and both those fumbles were recovered by the Bengals. Receiving numbers, 63 yards for Otis Taylor, 50 yards for Frank Pitts. And total offense numbers for Kansas City, which no touchdowns. They just could not get things rolling. On defense, big day for Willie Lanier. 10 tackles, 2 for loss, and he had that fumble recovery for a touchdown. No, we have 1 sack by Jerry Mays. Jimmy Marsalis, he picked the ball off twice, but didn't affect the outcome of the game. Buck Buchanan, 6 tackles, 3 for loss. Curly Cole, 8 tackles, 3 for loss. So I would say, looking at this, the Kansas City offense couldn't get rolling, but a great effort by the Kansas City defense. Jan Stenerud only had an extra point. Gerald Wilson, busy day for him punting the ball away. He had 8 punts, 4 of them inside the 20. Holmes and Podolak, their kick return numbers. Podolak and Mitchell when it comes to punt returns. Let's look at the numbers for the victorious Cincinnati Bengals. Virgil Carter, 18 out of 31 for 235. Did have a touchdown, but also 2 picks. Cincinnati's rushing numbers. Jess Phillips had 50 yards on the ground. Paul Robinson, 40 yards. Phillips fumbled, and that fumble was scooped up by Willie Lanier and run in for a touchdown. The only points that Kansas City got on the day. Receiving numbers, Speedy Thomas, your MVP, 108 yards in the rain, a touchdown. Total offense numbers for the Bengals today. And defense. Defense did enough to bottle up that Kansas City offense. Avery and Berge each with 6 tackles. Carpenter and Barry with the sacks. Mike Reed with the fumble recovery, as well as Ken Dyer. He had a fumble recovery as well. Worst Moments Day. Not too busy, but he did miss that 1 field goal. His extra points, he just had one shot. Was good on that. Dave Lewis's punting day. 7 punts, 3 of them inside the 20. 51-yarder. Our kick returners, Robinson and Lamar Parrish. Punt returns, Lamar Parrish and Essex Johnson doing the duty for the Bengals. Cincinnati squeaks out a 10-7 win over the Kansas City Chiefs in the rain on the AstroTurf in Riverfront Stadium. And you'd almost think that that would have been a 10-0 score if it wasn't for the fumble recovery run in by the Chiefs for a touchdown. Now we're moving on to Municipal Stadium on the lake. Detroit and Cleveland. A classic old-time NFL game between the Browns and the Lions. And we have a good game, 35 degrees in the snow. Let's see, our first snow game. Let's see how the weather affects play. Well, it's snowing with 7:29 in the first. Mel Farr runs it in. 3-yard touchdown run gets Detroit on the board first. 7-0. 3:14 in the first. Munson hands off to Alty Taylor, and he fumbles the ball at the 34. 10 seconds left in the first. Bill Nelson back to pass. And they do not convert on that 4th down. Dick LeBeau stuffs Gary Collins. 7:41 in the second. Alty Taylor takes the handoff from Munson and rumbles right up the middle. Touchdown, Lions. 14-0 Lions. Munson in the second, at the end of the second, hands off to Farr, and he is in for a score. 14-yard touchdown run. 2 touchdowns for Mel Farr today. 6:34 in the third quarter. Munson back to pass. And he's picked off by Kellerman. He overthrew everybody on that one except for Ernie Kellerman. 2:34 in the fourth now. Nelson has him on the doorstep. He tosses to Leroy Kelly, and Kelly runs it in. 6-yard run by Leroy Kelly for the touchdown. Extra point is good. 1:54 left. Errol Mann. I couldn't see that through the snow. It looks like it is good. (24-7) Lions with 22 seconds left and no other action. The game ends up 24-7. The Lions come into Cleveland in the snow and get a victory. Your MVP, Mel Farr. Here's your final game stats. Cleveland could not get anything going on the ground at all. Let's look at Detroit's numbers. Munson didn't throw the ball very much, and he didn't have to with Alty Taylor and Mel Farr running the ball as well as they were. Only 5 completions on 10 attempts. 60 yards, 1 interception and a sack. It's a lousy line for a quarterback, but they got the victory anyhow. Rushing. Taylor and Farr both ended up with 100-yard games. And let's see. Mel Farr 2 touchdowns. Alty Taylor 1 touchdown. Not much going on in the air for Detroit on this snowy day. Total offense numbers for Detroit, all of it almost exclusively on the ground. They ran the ball pretty effectively against that Browns defense. Defense for the Lions. Lucy with 7 tackles. Alex Karras, 4 tackles, 3 of them for loss. 1 of them was a sack. Same thing with Joe Robb. Jim Mitchell also had a sack. Errol Mann, perfect day in the snow. Weather didn't affect him. Herman Weaver's day punting the ball. And on kick returns, Williams and Eddy. It looks like Williams only had 1 return for 24 yards. On punt returns, Lem Barney and Nick Eddy. Cleveland. Bill Nelson's numbers on the day. 12 out of 30, 155 yards. No TDs, no interceptions. He was harassed all day by that Lions defense. 3 sacks for 22 yards. And the Detroit defense put the hammer down on the Cleveland running game. Leroy Kelly got the 1 touchdown. It was only a 6-yarder. Looking at receiving, what passes were completed by Bill Nelson, the majority of them looks like went to Gary Collins for 97 yards. He had that 51-yard reception. Offensive numbers for the Cleveland Browns. On defense, Jerry Schreck was a busy man. 9 tackles, 4 of those were for loss, and he did recover a fumble. Walter Johnson, 7 tackles, 3 for loss. Jack Gregory got the sack. Ernie Kellerman got the interception. Don Concroft, not a busy day for him. Probably lucky he could stay on the bench and keep warm. He only had that 1 extra point. But he was quite busy when it came to punting the ball. Got a 46-yarder. Over half of them were inside the 20. And just about half of them were fair caught. Your kick returners, Homer Jones, your kick return yardage leader. Going into week 5, he'll add another 86 yards onto his season total. Longest was 34. Morrison and Schoen in their punt return duties today. And that'll wrap up Detroit and Cleveland's game with a decisive 24-7 win by the Lions. Our next game is the Atlanta Falcons swooping into Mile High Stadium. It's going to be a chilly day in Mile High, but it's not windy. Clear skies. Broncos have not scored in the last 2 games. Let's see if they can get their offense rolling against the Atlanta Falcons. 8-11 in the first. Liskey back to pass for Denver. He throws it, and he overthrows his receiver. Rudy Redmond grabs the pass and brings it back to the Atlanta 11 for the Falcons. 10:34 in the second. Bob Berry back to pass. He avoids a sack and he scrambles out. Gets the first down. 12-yard scramble for Bob Berry. 9:34 in the second. The drive stalls. Vineyard misses the field goal attempt. 4:02 in the second. Score is 0-0. Liskey's driving the Broncos, and he turns the ball over. Intercepted by John Mallory of the Falcons on the Atlanta 16. 42 seconds left in the first half. and Vineyard gets that one through the uprights. 29-yard field goal by Ken Vineyard. 21 seconds left in the second. Liskey back to pass. He's picked off by Redmond again. Redmond runs it back to the Denver 37 with 21 seconds left. And they don't do anything with it, but at 14:04 in the third, Liskey hits Hafner, and Hafner fumbles the ball. Atlanta recovers on the 36. 12:33 in the third. Berry back to pass. They do not convert on the fourth. Excuse me. 4:43 left in the third. Chip shot field goal by Bobby Halfield ties the game at 3. 3:30 left in the fourth. Berry, he's back to pass. He looks. He's got Flatley at looks like about the 11-yard line. Minute 54, the drive stalls out, and Vineyard comes in to kick him into the lead, and he does. 6-3, Atlanta. 29 seconds left. Liskey's got the ball. Can they complete the... Oh, yeah, they did. They completed it to Jensen, and he's out of bounds. They got some time on the clock. They might be able to tie it or maybe even win the game here. They're down on the 5. Liskey back to pass. He's looking. Hits Floyd Little. Floyd Little's in with 11 seconds left in the fourth quarter. In Denver, do they take the lead? They do. 5 seconds left, the kickoff. Denver. Can they hold on and win? Cannonball Butler takes it, and he is crushed at the 7-yard line. And that will wrap up the game. The Broncos, after being unable to put points on the board in 2 games, comes out with a 10-6 victory at home against the Atlanta Falcons. Your MVP is Dave Costa of the Denver Broncos, 5 tackles and a sack. All right, well, let's look at the game stats. Denver got the win even though they turned the ball over 4 times. That's just got to be a tough loss for the Atlanta Falcons. Speaking of Atlanta, let's look at the player stats for the Falcons. Bob Berry, 16 out of 30, 203 yards. Decent quarterback rating. He was sacked 4 times. I think Atlanta deserved better fate than they got today in Mile High. Rushing. Harmon Wages had 51 yards on the ground. Receiving. Flatley and Cannonball Butler each with 75 yards receiving on the day. Your total offense numbers for the Atlanta Falcons. Hard luck lost today in Denver. And your defensive numbers. Tommy Novus, 12 tackles. John Zook, he had 2 tackles. One of them was a sack. Fumble recovery by Novus. Interceptions by 2 by Redmond, 1 by Mallory. Vineyard, he was all the offense that that Atlanta could get to put points on the board today. Lothridge's punting numbers: 4 punts, got 3 inside the 20. Butler and Campbell in their kick return numbers. McCauley and Mallory punt return numbers. And let's look at the victorious Denver Broncos. Liskey, 25 out of 39. 244, a touchdown, 3 interceptions, and he was sacked once for 8 yards. Not pretty, but it got the job done. Floyd Little, 66 yards on the ground. Hafner, 117 yards on 13 catches. Floyd Little, 31 yards of receiving, and he had the touchdown. Total offense. Floyd Little. Like I keep saying this, there's your defense, or your Denver offense right there. Floyd Little. On defense, the Orange Crush, still a tough group. Dave Washington and Fred Forsberg had 7 tackles. Rich Jackson, again, big game for him, 2 sacks. Dave Costa, he was a wrecking crew out there for Denver. 5 tackles, 4 of them for loss. 1 of them was a sack. Pete Duranko, he also got a sack. Bobby Halfield's numbers. Billy Van Heusen, his numbers. 58-yard punt in the rarefied air of Denver. He got 2 of the 3 punts inside the 20. Billy Thompson and Bobby Anderson, their kick return numbers for today versus Atlanta. Thompson and Floyd Little's punt return numbers. Well, Denver didn't tie, and they actually scored points. Things are looking up. Those Bronco fans went home cold, but feeling good. Our next game, the Los Angeles Rams, heading into miserably cold, not deathly cold, but yet miserably cold, 35 degrees in pouring rain. This is not going to be a fun game to plan, being wet and cold. Let's see what happens. Can the Rams deal with not only the weather conditions, but also a Green Bay team that actually was competitive last week? Let's look at the highlights. 3:08 in the first. Gabriel driving the Rams down, and he's picked off by Doug Hart. 7:37 in the second. Bart Starr's back to pass, and he misses Carroll Dale on the 4th down conversion. Richie Pettibone defending on that one. 10:27 in the third. And the Rams cannot convert on their 4th down try. Ray Nitschke comes up big. 14-17 in the 4th quarter. Gabriel, he's looking. He's got Willie Tucker, who gets into the end zone. 9-yard touchdown pass, Gabriel to Wendell Tucker. Los Angeles 7, Pack nothing, but that score may change. No. Bart Starr hit as he released the ball. Incomplete pass. 51 seconds left in the game. Bart Starr, he's looking. Kermit Alexander grabs the ball and then slips, goes out of bounds. "41 seconds, the Rams have the ball. And that is going to end up being our final score. That may be that was a miserable game. LA comes into cold and rainy Lambeau, shuts out the Green Bay Packers. Coy Bacon, 2 tackles, both of which were sacks. Game stats. All right, Roman Gabriel's numbers on the day, 20 of 35 for 208 yards. Not much of a average yard. 1 TD, 1 interception. Sacked twice. Josephson and Ellison leading the running attack. And on the receiving side for LA, Jack Snow, 90 yards. Wendell Tucker was the lone touchdown. Total offense. I had to believe the playing conditions affected the both teams. On defense, Kermit Alexander, 8 tackles and an interception. Deacon Jones got another sack. Coy Bacon, a member of that fearsome foursome up front, he got 2 sacks. Merlin Olsen, 2 tackles, both of them for loss. David Ray, he didn't have to kick a field goal, and he just had to worry about extra point, and his lone attempt, he was good. Pat Studstill, busy day punting. Heyman and Kermit Alexander on kick returns for the Rams. Again, I think the weather had played into some of this as well. As with the punting game for the Rams. Let's look at Green Bay. Bart Starr was 19 out of 40 for 237 yards. He had 1 interception, no touchdowns, and he was pressured a good part of the day. Especially on that pass where he just got leveled as he released the ball to Carroll Dale in the end zone and overthrew him. Not much on the ground for the Pack. Anemic running game for the Pack today at home. Carroll Dale had a good day, 119 yards on 8 catches. Jim Clancy, 73 yards, and that was pretty much it. Total offense for the Pack, no TDs. On defense, Fred Carr came up with 10 tackles. Bob Brown, he had a sack. Mike McCoy had a sack. Doug Hart picked off Roman Gabriel earlier in the game. Couldn't get that converted into points. Nothing to speak of in the kicking game for Green Bay today. But the punting game was pretty active. Donnie Anderson, 10 punts. Ellis and Krause for kick returns. Ellis and Willie Wood for punt returns. And LA gets the win in rainy, cold, miserable Lambeau Field. Your next game is going to be Pittsburgh at Houston in the Astrodome. 2:56 in the first. Charlie Johnson's driving. The Oilers down. Hands off to Joe Dawkins. 2-yard touchdown run. Extra points good. Terry Hanratty still starting for the Steelers. Hands off to Preston Pearson with 12:24 in the second to put the Steelers on the board. And we've got a tie game going into 19-16 in the second. Charlie Johnson converts the 4th down. They don't get it in for a touchdown, but Roy Jarella is going to kick that one through for 3. Houston 10, Pittsburgh 7. Gene Mingo with 1:58 left in the second. Shanks, another kick, wide left. Mingo's struggles continue. 9 seconds left. Houston punting. And fumble by Hubie Bryant on the, it looks like the 38-yard line. 3 seconds left. Charlie Johnson wings it downfield. It hits Hayek. Mac Hayek. 38-yard toss from Charlie Johnson with seconds remaining in the first half. Puts Houston up 17-7. Chuck Beatty steps in front of that pass and gets it to the Houston 33. What can Pittsburgh do with the ball? Hanratty. The beginning of the fourth, he connects with Ron Shanklin for an 11-yard touchdown pass. Extra point is good. Gene Mingo with 8:29 in the fourth to tie it.
Wide right.
And his struggles with field goals continue. 2:20 left in the fourth. Jarella is good.
It's good.
Jarella will be soon playing for the Steelers, but not today. 45 seconds left in the fourth. Johnny Fuqua runs it in for the touchdown. Frenchie Fuqua, 2-yard touchdown run. Puts Pittsburgh up by 1. 21 seconds left. Charlie Johnson is sacked by Ben McGee for the safety with 21 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And that will just about do it, folks. And that's your game. Pittsburgh comes from behind and gets a safety to make it 23-20 Pittsburgh. Ron Shanklin's your MVP. 6 catches, 106 yards, and a touchdown. Game stats. Terry Hanratty's numbers: 16 out of 31, 258 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. He's looking like he might be the answer at quarterback here for Pittsburgh. Not much on the ground for Pittsburgh, but Fuqua and Preston Pearson both got touchdowns on the ground. Ron Shanklin, your MVP, 106 yards and a touchdown. Total offense numbers. On defense, the veteran Chuck Allen, 11 tackles today. Andy Russell, he had 2 tackles for loss. One of them was a sack. Ben McGee ends up with a sack and a safety. Got Charlie Johnson in the end zone in the final seconds of the game. Chuck Beatty with the interception. And Gene Mingo struggling again in field goals. He's killing the Steelers. Walden's punting numbers for the day. Blunt and Staggers doing the kick return duties for Pittsburgh in the Astrodome. Bryant and Staggers on punt returns. All right, let's look at the Houston numbers. Charlie Johnson, I think he deserved a better fate. 21 completions on 36 attempts, 209 yards. He got a touchdown. Did toss the interception. Was sacked 3 times. One of those was a safety. Dawkins and Richardson, 55 and 43 yards respectively. Joe Dawkins rumbled in for a touchdown. Jerry Levias, 55 yards, is your leading receiver for Houston today. Total offense numbers for Houston. They gave a great effort today and to come out with a loss. On defense, Boyette had 9 tackles, 3 of those for loss. Elvin Bethea, he got a sack. Pat Holmes got a sack. Roy Jarella, who will eventually end up with Pittsburgh to solve their issue with kicking. Perfect day. Spike Jones and his punting numbers against Pittsburgh. All of his punts ended up inside the 20. Levias and Benny Johnson's kick return numbers. Levias had a 30-yard kick return. Levias and Richardson again, not much to write home about. 9-yard return by Levias. So Pittsburgh comes in, squeaks out a 3-point victory over the very game and hard-working Houston Oilers. All right, here's a big game. Dallas coming into Minnesota. It is chilly in Minnesota. Question is, has Tom Landry solved the dilemma of what he has to do to get that Dallas offense going? The unfortunate thing is he's facing a great defense in Minnesota. Can Dallas get that offense on track? Let's find out. 5:24 in the first. Quazzo hands off to Clint Jones. Clint Jones in for a Vikings touchdown. A minute, 1 left in the first. Dallas drives but stalls out. Mike Clark gets him on the board with 3 points. 2:49 left in the second. Freddie Cox. Long field goal for him. And it's good. 10-3 Vikings. 7:03 in the fourth. Fred Cox is lining up for another field goal. And that one he misses. Misses it wide left. 4:17 left in the fourth. Craig Morton back to pass. Oh, and he throws the interception. Roy Winston gets the interception, runs it back to the Dallas 22. And then Fred Cox punches another field goal in. 13-3 Minnesota. 2 minutes left in the fourth. Morton, he's back to pass. He's back to pass. He hits Reggie Rucker. Rucker goes and turns, and Kasalki strips him of the ball and returns it to the Minnesota 33. 14 seconds left. Long field goal by Fred Cox. That's good. 16-3 with 14 seconds left. Craig Morton, last gasp. He's looking. He's got some good protection. He's got some guys downfield. And he throws it out of bounds. And that will be your game. Cowboys 3, Vikings 16. Again, what does Tom Landry have to come up with to get Roger Staubach or Craig Morton going? Clint Jones ends up being your MVP. with 71 yards rushing, 13 yards on 2 catches. And he got a rushing touchdown. All Minnesota. Now let's look at these brutal Dallas numbers. Craig Morton, 6 out of 22. Have to think Landry is going to put in Staubach in week 6. Dwayne Thomas, respectable 68 yards on the ground. Reggie Rucker, your leader. Not much going on, obviously, in the air game, but he did get 65 yards. Of course, the long one was 51, so, keep that in mind. Dallas just miserable in the air. Offense numbers for the Cowboys. Defense. As usual, the Dallas defense does their job. The offense lets them down. Waters with 8 tackles. Jethro Pugh had a sack. George Andre had a sack. Jethro Pugh, 4 tackles, 2 for loss. Mike Clark, no extra points. He just had the field goal. Whitby's punting numbers. He was busy today. He had a 45-yarder. Dwayne Thomas and Margie Atkins, their kick return numbers. Dwayne Thomas had a 30-yard run back. Baba Hayes and Mel Renfro, not much to write home about there. All right, let's look at Minnesota's line. Gary Quazzo, 12 of 28, 153 yards. No touchdowns. He didn't turn it over. Was sacked twice. Dave Osborne had a halfback pass for 15 yards. Rushing, Dave Osborne and Clint Jones. 75 yards for Osborne, 71 for Clint Jones. They grounded out on the ground against that doomsday defense and just beat him up. Jones with the rushing touchdown. Receiving, Gene Washington had 61 yards. Bob Grimm had 1 more catch, but only 42 yards for him. Total offense for Minnesota. On defense, we have sacks by Page and Marshall. Interception by Roy Winston. Fumble recovery by Kasalki. Fred Cox missed 1 field goal, was good on all of his 1 extra point attempt. McNeil, busy day. Not much in the way of yards, but 5 of those 7 punts were inside the 20. Nothing going on with the kick return game for the Vikes today. And really nothing going on for Vikings when it comes to punt returns as well. So Dallas's woes continue. Vikings get a win in a relatively low-scoring game. Well, now we're in the Super Bowl III rematch of Baltimore at the Jets. 8:49 in the first. Jim O'Brien will get the Baltimore Colts on the board with a field goal. 3-0 Baltimore. Jim Turner with 3:20 in the first. Misses. So much for tying the game up. We move on to the second quarter. Jim O'Brien again. And he shanks it right. Baltimore 3, New York nothing. We're at a minute 22 in the second. Turner's trying it again. And that one goes in. So they've tied the game up with a minute 22 in the second. 3-3. 10-10 in the third. Namath's driving. Hands off to Emerson Boozer, and he bowls his way into the end zone for a 2-yard touchdown run. Let's see if that extra point's good, and it is. 4:21 in the third. O'Brien again. And that's good. 6 points for Baltimore, 10 for New York. 4:15 left in the third. Namath under center. He looks, hands to Boozer. Boozer, it's a flea flicker. He throws it down, and Rick Volk not fooled by that play. .313 in the third. Johnny Unitas. He's back to pass. He's looking. He avoids the sack. Hits Eddie Hinton, and he gets out of bounds.
Out of bounds.
2:11 in the third. Unitas rolls out, throws back, and he's picked off by Early Thomas. We move on to the fourth quarter. 3:11 left. O'Brien, another field goal attempt. No good.
Right.
Score remains 10-6 Jets. 21 seconds left in the fourth. And no action after that. The Jets get a victory in Shea over the Colts. Again, Broadway Joe beats the Colts. Let's look at the numbers. Oh, and Emerson Boozer, an MVP, 35 yards on the ground for a touchdown and 45 yards in the air on 2 catches. Makes me wonder what these stats look like. All right, game stats. Well, you wouldn't think that the Jets won, looking at the fact that Baltimore led in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories. 8 categories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 categories. They converted their fourth downs. Tough loss for Baltimore. Johnny Unitas, 23 out of 41, 190 yards, threw 1 pick. Not much going on in the rushing game, 44 yards for Maitland. And receiving, Eddie Hinton, he had 76 yards and 5 receptions. Bulash was targeted 9 times coming out of the backfield for 37 yards. And some pretty anemic offensive numbers for the Colts today. On defense, Mike Curtis stepped up and had a big day. 8 tackles, 3 of them for loss, and 1 of those was a sack. Rick Volk had the interception. Jim O'Brien, he hit 50% of his field goals. David Lee's punting numbers, he had a 58-yarder. Duncan and Garden, 38 yards, 33 yards. Now on punt returns, Garden, total of 29 yards, longest was 13. Let's look at the Jets. Namath, 11 out of 20 for 180 yards, no TDs, an interception. Was sacked once by Mike Curtis. Emerson Boozer had 35 yards on the ground. George Knock had 50. Boozer with the touchdown. Sauer and Maynard each over 60 yards receiving today. Neither one got a touchdown. No Rich Castor either. Total offense numbers for the Jets, not much better than the Colts. Except for they got the touchdown. On defense, Al Atkinson, 13 tackles. He was busy. Lomas had 2 tackles for loss, as well as Ralph Baker. Grantham and Verlin Biggs each had a sack. Early Thomas, the interception. Jim Turner missed 1 field goal. Otherwise, he was good on the sole extra point that he had to convert. Steve O'Neill's punting numbers. 6 punts, 5 inside the 20. McLean in battle on kick returns. And the punt and return numbers for Eddie Bell and Mike Battle. Jets get the win, 10-6, in that Super Bowl III rematch. You know, looking at the scores today, let's just kind of roll up here. Thirty-nine points by the Giants. Everything else, 10-7, 6-10. Detroit put a 24 spot on Cleveland, 7-0. That was a good game, but everything's been close today. All right, let's see what Washington can do in Oakland. It's damp there. Normally that turns the Coliseum turf into a swamp. Let's see if Washington can overcome that. There used to be rumors that Al Davis would just keep the grass soaked and mushy to slow teams down. John Madden, when he was interviewed about that, said, no, that was just weather conditions in the Coliseum, as it was always, the turf was always kind of damp and loose. Well, you know, believe who you want to believe, I guess. 9:23 left in the rain in the first quarter. Sonny Jurgensen hits Haraway, and he scoots in the end zone. 12-yard pass, touchdown Washington. The extra point is good. Washington has the ball with 6:01 in the first. Jurgensen back. He's looking. Oh, no. Atkinson saw that one coming a mile away and grabbed that one. Returned it to the Oakland 39. 1:38 left in the first. LaMonica back to pass. Chris Handberger snatches that one out of the air. 7-0 Washington so far. We're in the second quarter. Jurgensen hands off to Larry Brown. He cuts back, slips, fumbles. Oakland grabs the ball, runs it back to the 21. What can Oakland do here? Well, not much, because they bring in Blanda to kick the field goal, and he is wide left on that one. Maybe he slipped a little in the turf. Minute 53 left in the second. Gerald Irons picks off Sonny Jurgensen and almost takes it into the end zone for a pick six. Blanda. It's good. Oakland gets on the board. near the end of the second quarter, 7-3 Washington. 12 seconds left. Sonny Jurgensen pitches to Larry Brown, and he is off to the races. Larry Brown, touchdown Washington. 25-yard run for Larry Brown. Extra point is good. 14-3 Washington. We're in the third quarter. Jurgensen back. And he hits his man, and we've got a touchdown.
That's a touchdown.
41-yard toss by Sonny Jurgensen. Extra point is good. 21-3 with 3 minutes remaining in the third quarter. LaMonica back to pass. He's looking. He hits Sherman, and Sherman is in the end zone. Rod Sherman, 30-yard touchdown catch. 10:49 in the fourth. LaMonica hits Warren Wells in the end zone. Extra point is good. 9:46 in the fourth. Jurgensen, he's looking. Gene Atkinson gets him again. And Atkinson is off. Interception for a touchdown. George Atkinson picks off Sonny Jurgensen, runs down the sideline, and gives Oakland the lead. Frank Ryan is in for Sonny Jurgensen. Hits Jerry Smith for 12 yards. Extra point is good. 28-24 Washington now. This is a back and forth battle in the waning minutes of the game. Oh, and LaMonica overthrows Warren Wells. A minute 21 in the fourth. LaMonica in his end zone. Oh, caught. Did he get out of bounds? Yes, he did. He got out of bounds. 21 seconds left. LaMonica, this should be it. He's back to pass. He hit Sherman. They got the first down, but he's in bounds. Oakland had one timeout left. They're going to have to use it. 9 seconds left. LaMonica's knocking on the door. He's looking. Oh, and he's picked off in the end zone by Jacqua. 9 seconds left in the game. Washington seals it with an interception in the end zone. Wow, that's a shocker. The Redskins actually put up points and ended up with a 28-24 victory in the rain and slop in the Oakland Coliseum. Back and forth battle. That was a good game. Both teams were airing it out for sure. Let's look at Washington's numbers. Sonny Jurgensen, 15-27, had 2 touchdowns, but he turned it over 3 times. Was sacked twice. Frank Ryan came in near the end of the game, and he attempted 1 pass, which was a touchdown pass. Larry Brown had a good day on the ground, 113 yards and a touchdown, but he did cough the ball up to Oakland. The veteran Charlie Taylor, 102 yards on 5 catches. Smith, Malinchak, and Charlie Haraway with the touchdowns. There's your total offense numbers for the Washington Redskins. Something I wanted to point out too, there's a story behind this color in helmet scheme that the Redskins were using. And Vince Lombardi came over to coach the Redskins. He was there for a season before he got sick and eventually passed away. But one of the things he did to kind of instill a new culture is change the primary colors of the Redskins to yellow, and added the R in a circle. reminiscent of the Green Bay Packers, where they have the G in the oval, and they are primarily a yellow is one of their colors. So if you look at the Redskin uniforms in '70, they are very reminiscent of the Packer uniforms. On defense, Marlon McKeever had 8 tackles. Floyd Peters, 6 tackles, 3 for loss. One of those is a sack. Hamburger and Jacqua with the interceptions. Kurt Knight, perfect day. Mike Bragg, good day. 4 punts, 2 inside the 20, and a 44-yarder. Vactor and Harris on kick returns. Harrison Roberts on punt returns. So let's go look at Oakland. Daryl LaMonica, the Mad Bomber. 20 completions out of 48 attempts, 265 yards. 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. Hewitt Dixon, 49 yards on the ground. And let's look at the receiving. Biletnikoff had 60, Wells had 70, Sherman had 60. Wells and Sherman with the touchdowns from LaMonica. Total offense numbers by Oakland in a losing effort. What a heartbreaker. They were driving with seconds left in the game, knocking on the doorstep of a score, and Jacqua picks the ball off in the end zone to put a dagger in the heart of the Raider Nation. Oakland defense. Gassado with the sack. Ben Davison with a sack. Atkinson picked off Jurgensen twice, as did Gerald Irons, got an interception as well. Blanda missed a field goal. You wish they could have that one. I shied in his punting numbers, 42-yarder, half of his punts inside the 20. Atkinson and Wyatt with their kick return numbers. Sherman and Wyatt in punt return. Last, just tough loss for the Oakland Raiders, but a good victory for the Washington Redskins. They really needed that. All right, the Battle of the Birds. Cardinals and Eagles. Franklin Field. 8-1 in the first. Jimmy Hart, he's looking. And they don't convert the short 4th down on the pass. 13:43 in the second. Jim Bakken with a longish field goal. And he misses. No good. And a penalty to rub salt in the wound as well. 12:17 in the second. Norm Snead. Oh, halfback pass. Wuchnick throws it right to Worley. St. Louis knocking on the door. Hart hands off to Sid Edwards, and he rumbles in for an easy 1-yard touchdown run. Doesn't get easier than that. 7-0 St. Louis. Snead in the waning moments of the first half. It's Worley. I don't know how he didn't see Worley. I mean, he's standing right there in front of the receiver. 6-7 seconds left in the second quarter. Jimmy Hart. He's looking. He's looking. He's airing it out. Oh, my goodness. Dave Williams hauls that one in for 47 yards. Cardinals up 14-0. See if Mark Mosley here in the third quarter can get the Eagles on the board.
It's good.
And he does. 14-3, St. Louis over Philly. 44 seconds left in the third quarter. Snead deep in his own end and gives it to Pinder, and he coughs the ball up. Going to give St. Louis another opportunity here. 14-20 in the fourth. Hart to Williams again.
That's a touchdown.
Dave Williams gets his second touchdown on the day. A 13-yard pass from Jim Hart. 21-3 St. Louis. Philly hands off to Wichnick. He gets dropped for a 4-yard loss and he coughs the ball up. 10:30 left in the fourth. Hart hits Gillian, gets the first down, and then he fumbles the ball up to Philly. Can Philly get some points? Well, they're going to get a field goal, and that's not going to help their cause this late in the game. 21-6, St. Louis, Snead. He's got Hawkins in the end zone. Ben Hawkins hauls in the 20-yard pass from Norm Snead. Extra point is missed. 21-13 St. Louis. And the veteran Larry Wilson gets that one, runs it back to what looks like about the 12 or 13-yard line. 21-13 until Bakken knocks that one through. And that is probably going to be your score here, unless there's some late heroics by Snead. But even that's not going to give him the game. Snead's looking. 7 seconds left in the game, and he just heaves it down. He hits Harold Jackson, but he's caught. He is tackled at around the 31. And that's your game. St. Louis comes in and beats the Eagles at home, 24-13. Jim Hart had a good day. He's your MVP. Snead's day for the... Oh, let's look at the game stats. Boy, St. Louis grounded out on the ground. Only 46 yards rushing for Philly. But Philly obviously trying to get back in the game. They were throwing the ball more than they were running it. Jimmy Hart's numbers, 12 of 25, 182 yards, 2 TDs, no interceptions. Good game for Jim Hart. Sid Edwards and MacArthur Lane, the two-headed monster, 64 yards each. Sid Edwards had the one touchdown run. Dave Williams, 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. Big day for him. Here's your St. Louis offensive numbers. On defense, Jamie Rivers, 10 tackles, 2 of them for loss, and he did recover a fumble. Miller Farr got a fumble. Roger Worley picked off Snead twice. Larry Wilson, he got a pick as well. Yeah, one, I just can't believe Snead did not see Worley literally standing in front of the receiver. I don't know why he was trying to force it in. That looked almost impossible to complete. Bakken's day. La Tourette, his punting line. Pittman and La Tourette doing kick return today in Philly. 32-yard return by Charlie Pittman. Punt returns. All right, let's look at Philly. Norm Snead, 1926, 272 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Wojcik, the halfback pass that went right to Roger Worley. Cyril Pinder, the only action on the ground for Philly. And he coughed up a fumble as well to St. Louis, as did Tom Wojcik. Harold Jackson had a big game, all for naught, 133 yards. Ben Hawkins had the 20-yard touchdown reception. And total offense numbers for Philly. On defense, Ron Porter and Tim Rosevich each leading with 9 tackles. No sacks. 1 fumble recovery. No interceptions. Yeah, defense wasn't getting much pressure. They didn't create anything either to help out the offense. Mosley was perfect with his field goals and his extra points. Bradley's punting numbers for today. He had a long punt of 40 yards. All of his punts were inside the 20. Wallach and Nelson kick return numbers. Wallach and Hawkins punt return numbers. And that is a wrap from Philadelphia. The Cardinals come in and throttle the Philadelphia Eagles 24-13. And our last game, New Orleans, San Francisco. 8-14 in the first. John Brody back to pass. He's got Eisenbarger in the end zone for a touchdown. Extra point is good. San Francisco up 7-0. Tom Dempsey kicks that one home and gets New Orleans on the board. 7-3 San Francisco in the second quarter. Bruce Gossett lining up a kick. And that one's good. 8:55 in the second. San Francisco goes up 10-3. Now we're in the third quarter. Brody hands off to Cunningham, and he slices through the Saints defense for a touchdown. 17-3 San Francisco. Kilmer back to pass here in the fourth quarter, and he's picked off by Rosie Taylor. Rosie Taylor takes it back to the San Francisco 49 with 4:21 left in the game. 2 minutes and 19 seconds left in the game. Brody, he sneaks it up. And the veteran, I think he was probably surprised that it was a hole that big and there was no one there to stop him. 24-3 San Francisco. Kilmer back to pass. He's intercepted again. Minute 18 left in the fourth when the interception occurred. 18 seconds left, and I think Brody's going to take the knee and let the clock go. I am shocked at. I'm like literally shocked. John Brody got that touchdown run. He's not known to be a running quarterback at this point in his career. San Francisco dominates New Orleans 24-3, and John Brody, of course, your MVP. 35 yards rushing and a touchdown for John Brody. I think that's the most surprising line of the week. Dominating performance by the 49ers. All right, New Orleans. Billy Kilmer, 14-27, 129 yards, and he turned it over twice. Was sacked 3 times. Brutal line for Billy Kilmer. Not much on the ground for New Orleans. Outside of Daniel Bramwitz getting 56 yards, 28 of them on one catch. Not much happening there either. And here's your Saints total offense numbers. Not much to write home about at all. Looking at the defense for New Orleans, Absher and Mike Morgan, your performers there. Sacked by Tillman and Neal. Dempsey, just the one field goal. Julian Fagan's day. 57-yarder was his longest. And kick returns. We have Dodd and Kenborough. 18 yards was the longest return. Punt returns, one fair catch by Dodd. That's all you got. The Niners. Good day by John Brody. 15 out of 24, 151 yards, one touchdown. He didn't turn it over. Ken Willard. Good day, 89 yards on the ground. Cunningham and Brody with the touchdowns on the ground. Brody with that 33-yard run. I think people were stunned in Kezar Stadium to see the veteran pull off a 33-yard touchdown run. Receiving, Gene Washington led the way. Eisenbarger was the one that got the 10-yard touchdown from John Brody. Total offense numbers for the San Francisco 49ers. On defense, all right, we're seeing Charlie Kruger's name up there at the top of the list. The veteran ends up with 7 tackles, 2 for loss, and he did get a sack. Roland Lakes got the other sack, as well as Bill Belk. Taylor, Bruce and Rosie, each with an interception off Billy Kilmer. And Bruce Gossett, typically a good line for him. He's in the 1970s and 60s kicker. He was pretty good. Steve Spurrier had a 43-yard punt. 2 of his 5 punts were inside the 20. Tucker and Taylor on kick returns. 49er punt return numbers for today. 50-yard punt return by Bruce Taylor. And that'll wrap it up. 24-3, Niners over the Saints. That was the last game of Week 5. So let's go look at the standings now. Well, St. Louis is on top of the NFC East. The 4-1 record. They've won 4 straight games. Boy, Dallas. I'm just that one just is head scratching. In the Central, Minnesota's pulling away. They've got a 4-game winning streak. Chicago at the bottom, 3-game losing streak. And in the West, San Francisco is keeping pace with LA. LA's won 3 in a row. Let's see here. St. Louis. Good offensive numbers. Look at that defense. That is great looking numbers. And then you go down here and you look at San Francisco, and They're looking good too. Conversely, that looks bad. In the AFC, New York goes back into first place after Miami has a stinker of a game in Week 5. But that thinking Miami's. I still have hope for Miami and Baltimore here. Boston still winless on the season and giving up points. I think they are. Let's see here. Let's look at. Yeah, by a wide margin, they're giving up the points. Porous defense. Your Central Division in the AFC. We have Pittsburgh on top. Cincinnati right behind them. And in the West, we have Kansas City up on top of the West. So that is your standings after the Week 5 games. Well, that's it, everyone. Thanks again for watching the replays. Please put some comments if you have any. Like and subscribe. I'm really enjoying this. It's really good to go through these weeks and see these legendary names in the NFL and in a period in time in NFL history where there were some big changes. The merging of two leagues, the American Football League and the National Football League, two different philosophies. The AFL was kind of known for the most part as a run and gun, pass happy league. It's not necessarily 100% true, but they were basically, they knew they were selling tickets by putting up offense. And the NFL was the old 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They were the hit you in the mouth ground game league. So you had two different styles of play merging into one league. So I think that'll wrap it up. Looking forward to Week 6. Thanks again.